Good afternoon. Hello.
Right, grab a pew afterwards, take a seat.
Everybody go take their seat, please. Thank you. Sorry to be difficult, but for those who know me, I'm always difficult, so it's hardly new. Don't you laugh. You're not supposed to agree. Anyway, so thanks everyone. And I think it's fair to say there's been some superb speakers and some superb work going on. And on that note, I'm going to hand over to Professor Brian Dolan to do our closing remarks. So with that, Brian, thank you very much.
Thank you. Obviously, I couldn't get to all of the sessions, but I gather and I heard they were really, really fantastic. And like this is, as Owen says, the last day of the collaborative. And you know that thing, as one door closes, another opens, which is grand as long as you don't work for Boeing, because they're not Just saying. And it really is an opportunity, which is also an opportunity also to plug the social network analysis. Because what we do, and it'll take about 20 minutes, it's in your packs, but what we do know is that loose networks are more effective than really tight, wet networks. And you know, Eddie and Lara, we were talking about this. We've kind of missed each other, haven't we, in face-to-face? We're all a bit over Teams, aren't we? You know, I'm surprised at the size of some people. You know, they're like very tall. Mind you, who are standing beside the likes of Derek, that's not hard on my part. But there's something about we are a social species. We like, even the introverts have missed people, you know. Lent is the only holiday that the extroverts don't have. You know, everything else for the extroverts. But it's about, we've missed, and it's those quick chats at the coffee machine. It's all those stuff that we've kind of missed. So we have, and I think it's really important that we look at the networks, because that's how we create sustainable change. The other thing that I'm really struck by is this thought about patient-centered care. I've never been in an organisation anywhere in the world that doesn't talk about being patient-centered. And if they were, why do we have visiting hours? Drops mic, walks away. I have to say, let me just read out this from St. Pius. I have no idea where this place is. I think it's in Ireland. There's lots of saints there. A few scholars and the rest of us, well, what can I tell you? We were the children our mothers told us to keep away from. But on this thing, somebody sent me an NPJ paralysis. Isn't this really cool? But above it, there was another poster. And it was the visiting hours. And actually, this is what it said. St. Pius, strict visiting hours. Visitors outside these times will be asked to leave immediately. Now, that doesn't exactly sort of talk about this place being warm and friendly and patient-centered, does it? And one of the most striking statistics of the day, when Jane and Liz were talking, was the patient staff statistic, that 75% of patients felt, and do please correct me, by the way, if this is wrong, 75% of patients felt, yes, I would be able to recognize my deterioration, and only 35% was like, no, we're the ones with the qualifications around here. You know, we don't trust patients, and that feeds into, patient-centered care. How can you be patient-centered and not trust the people who we are here to serve? Patients and their families are the most untapped resource in healthcare, and they could prevent a lot of falls, and they could prevent a lot of deterioration if we just listened. And that means us having a bit more humility, I think, and acknowledging that, my mother, God rest her, or my dad, I should say, I've got a phone call from Glasgow in Scotland. Anyone know where that is? So it's just my phone, or it's just my wrist is ringing. But my mother, God rest her, used to say, doctors differ and patients die. And Dawn, who was very open about it, she was telling us about this, she was very open about it. She had taken a very long time to get treated because she wasn't being believed. And this is a person who's like, a professor, she's an exercise physiologist, she knows the stuff, and yet I think we need to listen. We need to listen with intent. Not, as we talked about in the last section, have closed conversations where we're asking patients closed conversations. I worked in academic general practice, and the research shows that patients only need 45 seconds to tell their stories. That's all they want. On average, 45 seconds. They get interrupted at 8. And we know there's a direct line correlation between satisfaction and being heard. And when I'd be on triage as an emergency nurse, every single patient, I'd ask them the same question. What's the story? Because patients come to us with a story, and our job then is to translate their story in their language into medicalese. And sometimes as nurses, we're bilingual. We speak patientese and medicalese with ease, and then translate and say, what did they just say? Because we have an awful lot of shorthand in healthcare, don't we? We have an awful lot of TLAs, 3-letter abbreviations. Like, does NAD mean no abnormality discovered or not actually done? We have some PD, peritoneal dialysis, Parkinson's disease, position description, postnatal depression. I got to 7 once. So sometimes we use the linguistic shorthand, and what it does, it serves to obfuscate. I mean, what is otolaryngology anyways? It's just it's those things. And I think when we're seeking to address the challenges we face, we need to be mindful of our language, our framing, and how we speak. I was in the Isle of Man on Friday teaching a one-day course, and when I'd been there a couple of years before, I was in the bathroom washing my hands before having some lunch, and I heard these two fellas, and one says, "Oh, what are you doing here?" They'd met each other. "Oh, what are you doing here?" He says, "There's somebody's going to stick something in my lug to have a look, in my lug hole." And the other said, "What about you?" He said, "Oh, they're going to stick something up my jacksie this afternoon." And I remember thinking, now if only we used the vernacular for tests an awful lot more. I love the fact that one of my medical colleagues in Christchurch, his clinic is the funny turns clinic. Because when you think about it, what if patients have had a funny turn? So he calls it the funny turns clinic. Wouldn't that be awesome if we did more of that? Because if we use that kind of language, we'd become more inclusive and more enabling. People would say, "I think I'm having a funny turn." So it's how do we do this stuff? And when we look at it's that great Russian proverb, intelligence thoughts have always followed him, but he's always been faster than them. We are full of intelligence. We are very clever. But see, clever is knowing that a tomato is a fruit, but wisdom is knowing not to put one in your fruit salad. And with our cleverness, I think sometimes we've engineered solutions which actually don't make a great deal of common sense. Stuff has to make sense to people. And this is how we make sense. We make sense of the world through story. Something I learned from reading a book called Dark Emu a couple of years ago, which is the rewriting of the First Nations Aboriginal people of Australia. By the way, when we look at the night sky, and the Isle of Man is a biosphere, so you've got brilliant night skies, because it's so little dark, it's so little light that pollutants. But what we do is we see far fewer stars than they'd see in the southern hemisphere, because we look out of the Milky Way, or they're looking into the Milky Way. But through human history, we've used the stars to join the dots to create things like Orion, the Big Dipper, Aquarius. That's what we've done. Aboriginal peoples, they didn't use the stars, they used the darkness to create the shapes of the dark emu and so on. And I think if we used the dark and found what stories were in the dark, what sort of history would we have? What stories would our civilizations be telling? But it's also the darkness is also the challenge, because for some people today might lead to a period of mourning of what next. This is kind of scary. We're being it feels like you're being the mothership is kind of letting go. And that can be kind of a scary time. I know some people this morning talking about their daughters going off to university and this, a daughter-sized hole that'll be in the house. But that's also something to celebrate. When you're coming to the end of something, it's a sign of success if it's your children are leaving for university. It's a sign that you've enabled independence, and it's a vote of confidence in many respects from the system that you're in a place where you've done so much and done so well. It's now about how do you gather around each other? How do you gather around the campfire to keep sharing your stories, which is where the social network analysis really, really has to come in. But there's also times when it can be scary to do what you're doing. These are days, and Eddie and I and Laura were talking about this, we've missed each other, but what's really important is actually how we support each other. And it's those cup of coffee conversations, it's legging over to you after the first session to have a wee chat about stuff. That's how we connect. But sometimes when it's really tough, what these things do is they also act as an inoculation. Because when you are living, you're working in a sea of excellence, on an island of excellence, in a sea of mediocrity, actually it can be a real challenge to feel that, am I the only one who feels this passionate about these things? Am I the only one who's making a difference? Does anyone actually care? And it's when you come to places like this, you realize people really do care. They feel as strongly and as passionately as you do about this stuff. But remember, stars only shine because of the darkness that's around them. So when it's really tough, remember, being a star where you are is because you have made a difference and you are making a difference. And, there's some people who are so poor that all they have is money. But when you think about in this room and you think about across the whole of Scotland, every day 1 million acts of kindness are committed. Valuing people's time, their agency, their identity, their humanity. The reminder of those days when you worked really hard and your patients and your team, they didn't just feel cared for, but they felt cared about. Those are the times that are a reminder that this room is full of social millionaires. So you do make a difference, you do matter, you contribute, whether it's been a lifetime of many years of service or you're just starting out. It's been a tough few years, and sometimes, we're dealing with people who are burning out, and it feels like it's really tough. Although I'd also suggest that some people will never burn out because they never warm up in the first place, because that is a thing too. But look after yourselves. Look after yourselves, because that's important too. You are loved, you matter, you make a big difference. And thank you for your time.
I am never going after that man again. What I'd like you to do is log on and give us, the group, feedback. But what I'd like to say to everyone who's spoken today, to all of the organisers, how you manage this is beyond me, but to everyone who's spoken today, a real thank you. And in that, I'd like to thank you very formally. So well done. My final point is this one. Brian has left us a challenge. As this moves forward, we have the agency to make things better. It's how we choose to work together to do that is within our gift. So I'll leave you with that, and thank you.